Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Retro Pop Planet. Back in April, I was down in Southwest Virginia for the Virginia Tech spring game. Unable to find lodging in town, I rented a room 30 minutes up the road in Salem. On my way out of town, I pulled a hard turn into the parking lot of a Pizza Inn. If you have a Pizza Inn in your city, you're probably thinking, what's the big deal? And I wouldn't blame you if you clicked away from this video now, but bear with me. Have you ever experienced a pull of nostalgia so strong that it affects your physical being? You see, I haven't eaten at a Pizza Inn in at least 36 years. We moved from the Gulf Coast of Texas to Virginia in 1987 when I was 10 years old. I should clarify here, this was Northern Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C. Throughout that first year in our new city, I slowly started to realize the many differences between the two places. I had never lived anywhere else. One of the biggest differences I noticed was the restaurants. Not just the unique and diverse food options, but the different fast food chains as well. And Pizza Inn was a restaurant that hadn't made it that far north. I wouldn't say we went to Pizza Inn a lot because we had several amazing pizza joints run by actual Italian Americans in Texas City. I remember there would be a lot of yelling in the open kitchens and cigarette smoke. Every table always had ash burns on the tablecloths. I used to be fascinated by watching skinny cooks in tank tops with mustaches. This was the early 80s after all.
Yeah, I'm Luigi Primo, and I make the best of pizza.
Flipping actual dough. There were the country outlaws wailing on the jukeboxes, and these restaurants always had at least one cocktail arcade that we would bang away on until our food was ready. Pizza Inn was more of a novelty, the novelty being the buffet. I love the idea of crafting my own meal. I can't say that I remember any actual commercials, which is surprising because Pizza Inn originated in Dallas, but it was located at the end of the block where my daycare was located, and I remember being able to occasionally smell pizza from down the street. Here's a Google Street View of the actual location in Lamarck. I believe this location closed shortly after we moved, and in 2011, when I was in town for a work conference, this building had been the victim of a recent fire. Sadly, this hamburger place also looks closed. But check out what a vintage Pizza Inn looks like and compare it to this image. Now can you see it? Unfortunately, I can't find any photos on the internet. Back to Christiansburg, Virginia. I arrived at 6 p.m. on a Saturday and the parking lot was packed. So was the restaurant, and that's always a good sign. As a solo diner, I didn't have to wait long for a table. I felt kind of bad taking up an entire booth and said so, but my waiter was awesome and hooked me up with a Dr. Pepper. The first thing I noticed was the decor. It had a retro modern vibe that surprisingly reminded me of the old style Pizza Huts. As is any buffet, all you do is grab a plate. Unlike most buffets, the food was all steaming hot fresh from the kitchen. As soon as pizza pans started to empty, a food runner collected the old food and traded with fresh pies. And not just the same kinds, but the crazy food ensembles that I remembered as a kid. I particularly enjoyed the taco pizza. There was also the usual assortment of salad and breadsticks, which I never tried because they couldn't put them out fast enough. I also tried a riblet and a weird corn dog thing that I figured were for the kids, and just two of the desserts. You're probably wondering about the price. I spent about $17, which I thought was pretty reasonable. I could have sat here much longer if I was with friends, but had a 30-minute drive ahead of me and needed to check into my hotel. My nostalgia was definitely satiated. This is the end of part 1. Stay tuned for part 2 and the conclusion of my retro food road trip. Thanks for watching.